Hey, good morning, everyone. This is John. Hope you all had a great week. It's hard to believe that we're heading into the final week of this class. It seems like every class, the weeks tend to fly by. So, at least for me, probably not for you. But, anyways, I appreciated the discussion this week. I wasn't able to get on as much as I thought I might, being out of town for the last few days. But did get back last night, and will be available for, obviously, for any questions that you might have as we head into the final project in this final week. Just for this final video that I'll be posting for this class, I wanted to go over just what I think are some of the most important things to take away from this class, and hopefully you've been able to get some value out of throughout the last 7-8 weeks. So the first thing I want to talk about is just a reminder of the difference between ethical issues and legal issues. And certainly there is some overlap at times, right? So I mean, you could do something completely unethical, and that's also inconsistent with the law. So that happens all the time. I mean, our legal structure, as we've talked about, is really the laws and the legal structure is really a derivative of what we as a society have decided are our collective values, our collective ethical code. And so many times there is some sort of overlap, but there's also many times a marked distinction between ethical issues and legal issues. You can totally act ethically, and still there could still be a viable claim of malpractice. So you could act and do everything that is correct within your respective ethical code, but you've just made a mistake, right? And so you made a mistake. It's caused you to deviate from the standard of care in whatever you're doing. So there is a potential for a claim of malpractice. However, you've acted ethically, and so you can act completely ethically and still have some legal liability, and that happens quite a bit. So that I think that's important. And remember, it's important to view or analyze, I guess, ethical issues through those principles and those theories that we've discussed and that you've read about in the text. It's important to analyze and review and think critically about legal issues through the respective elements of the legal action that's at issue. So that kind of brings me to the next issue that I want to talk about, or I guess takeaway from the class I want to talk about. I think one thing I've really tried to hit hard in the last 7-8 weeks is that I just lost my train of thought. Is that when we're talking about legal issues, and just this is sort of what my job day in and day out is. I mean, there are sometimes just on the fringes, either one way or the other, that there's an absolute right answer, right? So for example, under the federal anti-kickback statute, which is a criminal law that prohibits any sort of giving or soliciting or offering or receiving anything of value in exchange for patients, basically, that receive services that are payable under a federal healthcare program. So if I were to give somebody, if I were a doctor and I were to give somebody a bag of cash in exchange for patient referrals that are, let's say, Medicare or Medicaid beneficiaries, well, that's against the law. If those are the facts, then there is an unequivocal right answer or a wrong answer, and so, but that's rarely the case. Rarely are those the facts. Rarely do you have someone giving a bag of cash in exchange for patient referrals. Usually, it's more uh, usually the facts are a little bit more complex. The value is not in the form of a bag of cash, it's in the form of something else. And so many times there's no right or wrong answer, or there's just a legal analysis. There's, what is your position based on a reasonable analysis of the facts as applied to that rule. So the biggest takeaway, if you remember nothing else from this class, my hope is that you come away with some sense uh, of, of of the importance of thinking critically about legal issues, particularly in the healthcare space. And so, think critically. I mean, the great example that I've sort of harped on throughout this class is that HIPAA discussion question that we had. And it's sort of, you see the facts and you kind of have this gut reaction. Well, in this instance, it was a breach. In this instance, it wasn't a breach. And that's if that's the gut reaction, that's not thinking critically about it. Thinking critically about it is to sit there and think, okay, well, you're asking me if it was a breach. The first question is, what is a breach? How do you define breach? And then when you look into it, the term breach consists of several factors that you have to consider, multiple exceptions that may apply depending on the facts. And so you got to understand what your rule is. What's the rule of the game that you're involved in? Once you understand the rule, you have to have a good understanding of the facts. And then you apply those facts. It's like that IRAC method of legal analysis. It's been around a long time, and for a good reason. It's a great way to analyze legal issues. So understand what the issue is, understand what the rule is, define your terms, apply the facts to that rule, and then you come out with your conclusion. It's like I mentioned before. I think it was a long time ago when I was a sophomore in college. I had a physics professor, and I was terrible at any science or math. I was terrible at it. But I had a physics professor that always talked about, physics is really simple. It's just you've got your formula, you've got your values. You plug in the values, you turn the crank, and you come out with your answer. And I was never very good at that when it came to physics. But with the legal analysis, it's no different. You've got your rule, which would be your formula. You've got your facts, which would be your variables. You plug in the facts to the rule, you analyze it. As long as your analysis is reasonable, you're going to come out with a reasonable conclusion. And so, if you don't walk away with anything of value from this class, other than that, then I think this class has provided some value to you. So, just it's important to think about things like that critically, as opposed to making some sort of gut reaction to the facts as you hear them. So define the terms, look at relevant facts, look at the rule, apply the facts to the rule and the defined terms, and come out with your conclusion. Very important, and hope that provides some value to you as you move forward in your careers. We talked about some other important things. That we talked about the business and economics of healthcare. I think your text obviously discusses that as well. Always happy to talk about that, even after this class. If you ever want to reach out, my email address or my phone number will continue to be active, and so feel free to reach out if you have any questions about that, or just want to shoot the breeze about something healthcare related. I'm always happy to do that. Remember that obviously healthcare is a highly regulated industry at both the federal and the state level. Things like we talked about anti-kickback statute, HIPAA, Stark Law, the False Claims Act, different agencies like CMS, Department of Health and Human Services, the FDA. We talked a little bit about clinical trials and how it's highly regulated. Corporate practice of medicine, patient abandonment, privacy, medical records laws, both on the federal and state level, licensure laws. I mean, there's so many different things that we would spend forever covering. Unfortunately, we can't, but only at a high level. So So, anyways, those are my big sort of takeaways from this class. That hopefully, I really hope you found some value in that. Um, Two sort of housekeeping items as we close out the class in this final week. Number one is just a reminder that, I mean, I know that the assignment is essentially a final draft of a couple of assignments that you did earlier in this class. Please do not make the mistake. If you received an A on any of those previous papers that are part of this final draft, if you received an A on that, please don't make the mistake of resubmitting the same assignment and thinking that you're going to get an A automatically. Please pay attention to the rubric. The rubric is different. It's more detailed for this final assignment than it was for the previous assignments. So it's important to just follow the rubric. And again, like I said before, I'm human when it comes to grading, and well, when it comes to everything. but you know, I there may be. Oops, sorry. Getting a phone call here. But you know, there may be something that I missed in your previous assignment that I won't miss this time, or vice versa. And so I think it's just really important. I'm going to do the same thing like I do every time I grade, which is go down the rubric and see if those requirements are met. And so that is your best bet when it comes to these final assignments, not just to resubmit the previous draft if you got a good grade on it. So just a reminder there. The only other thing that I have is it's really critical for you to get assignments in on time this week. As you know, you've had many classes, I presume, with SNHU. And I have basically 2 days to get grades in. So I'm going to submit assignments early. I'm going to try to crank through those this week. But obviously the last final assignment isn't due till Sunday. I have until next Tuesday to submit grades. And so I have a very short turnaround time to get those grades in. So it's really important if you have late assignments that you want to get in still, let me know. Just so I have a heads up on what to expect, and then and make sure those are in by Sunday. Just because, not because I'm not willing to work with you, but it's just because they require grades to be in by that Tuesday. So, anyways, have a great week. If you have any questions, let me know, and good luck to you. This is the final video, so wish you nothing but luck and success in your future endeavors, and your education and your career as well. So it's been a lot of fun for me. Hopefully, I really hope you got some value out of this. I always enjoy teaching this class. So take care and good luck. Bye.